Hi everyone, here is Moose Mountain Provincial Park, a provincial park in Saskatchewan, a highly recommended place to visit in Saskatchewan. Please stay tuned because I'm gonna show you around. The Moose Mountain Park is one of Saskatchewan's first provincial parks that offers year-round adventures for people of different interests. This park is suitable for camping, boating, swimming, golfing, hiking, disc golfing, and fishing. It is also good for mountain biking, snowshoeing, and snowmobiling. You would definitely enjoy the beautiful landscapes of this park. To book an accommodation, rent facilities, or get more information, you should go to the visitor center. This is a visitor center which has a very beautiful and old building. It has a small museum inside that exhibits the wildlife of the region. You can visit this museum for free. This provincial park has 4 art cabins exhibiting various different artworks. Let's visit these 4 art cabins. This is the first cabin. It has rotating artists, so it sees different artists every week. Well, this was the first cabin. Now let's visit the second one. This one has also rotating artists, so the artist changes every week. The artist of this cabin is Margaret. She is a permanent artist of this cabin, so she has been here for a long time. I'm gonna ask her about the history of the cabins.
At one time, there were about 14 of these cabins along here. There were
Okay.
14. And in the 80s, they built the hotel that's up on the hill.
Yeah.
And so in the late 90s, they were in the process of bulldozing them all over. And there was an artist who had a cabin here, and he was a high school teacher in Regina. And he was a watercolors artist, and his name was John McFarland. And he was married to his wife, Jeannie, came from Kennedy. And so she was a Birkeland from Kennedy. And so he and his 9-year-old niece, Casey Bergland,
Okay.
were walking along here, and she said, "Uncle John, wouldn't that make a cute little house for you to paint in?"
Okay.
And there was a few of them left, right? And he kind of chuckled, and they were walking back to their cabin, and Joan Adams, who was working in the front office at that time, was sitting outside at the picnic table having her lunch. And so he's telling Joan, everybody knew everybody in those days,
Yeah.
and about what Casey said, Uncle John, wouldn't that make a cute little house for you to paint in? And Joan laughed and she said, yeah, it would, John. And then unbeknownst to John, she went to the director of the park at that time and told him, and he knew John, so he phoned John that evening. He said, John, would you like one of those cabins for the summer? You know, you just come down and pick one up. And John did. And what he soon realized was what a creative space this was for artists to come and paint. You know, just the entire environment around. And also, he recognized the potential it had as a tourist attraction and enhancement for the parks. And so there also was a local priest at that time. He's still alive. He's in his 90s and he lives in the resort. His name was Father Fry, and he was a folk artist. And so John McFarland and Father Fry convinced the parks to save 4 of these cabins and turn them into an artist colony.
Yeah.
And you know, they had been rented up until the late 80s or the early 80s. And so they were pretty dilapidated, you know. By this time the roof leaked and you came in the morning. I've been here for a long time. You had to sweep up the flies and there's holes here and there. So prior to COVID, they had been designated as heritage property. And so they restored the outsides, the same with the chalet. And then during the year when we were closed down for COVID, they tore the insides out and renovated them inside. So they're lovely studios now. Right? But if it had not been for the imagination of a 9-year-old girl, this place would not exist.
Yeah. But
and it's unique to any provincial park in Saskatchewan.
I can see.
That runs a program like this with the quality of art that's here.
For sure.
And probably Western Canada.
Yeah. Oh, great.
So the first year I came here, I think it was 2011, we had, I think it was about 234 people through. And last year we had well over 3,000. And it's amazing who goes through our parks. We have people from all over the world, so many different countries. 2 days ago we had somebody in from Colombia, South America.
Oh.
And somebody from Japan the other day, yesterday.
So interesting,
and so.
I think so. It was such a wonderful idea.
Yeah, it is. It is, and it really is.
Yeah.
And now that it's becoming more established, people in the local area that live here are really proud of it. You know, they come just to see how you're doing. You know, if you've been here for a while, but they bring all their visitors. You know.
Yeah.
There's a 10-year-old boy. I don't know his name, but he lives in the village. And every time they get company, he brings them. He likes it. Yeah.
Great.
So it is,
Yeah. Can you please also tell me the story of that
chalet
hotel? Yeah.
The chalet was built during the Depression years, and it was a make-work project for, you know, to employ men who were unemployed. They paid them $1 a day, I think, and it was built. A lot of the stones came from across the lake on some of those islands, and it was under construction, and then it burnt down, and then they had to build it again. It served. There was a community established by the English called Cannington Manor in this area, and they planned to sell mainly pigs, livestock, right? And during probably the 20s, 1920s. And the railroad missed, it went south on the construction of the railroad. So eventually that community couldn't survive. And but they used to come over here, and this would be their English seaside, right? You know, and so it was a lovely hotel or a chalet. It used to have a beautiful restaurant downstairs where the interpretive center is now, with white tablecloths, and you overlooked the lake, and they had gardeners that just maintained incredibly beautiful grounds. So now the chalet is it's offices for the park. Park wardens, the park director, and the people that work in the park, and then the downstairs is an interpretive center that's open, visitor center they call it, interpretive center for the public.
Yeah, for sure. It was a very good and interesting place to visit. There is a museum inside, a small museum. It was, I think, so interesting. They exhibit Canadian wildlife.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's nice, and so there's so much interesting history around here. If you look across the lake, there's an island.
Yeah.
The water goes all around it. It's called Hog Island.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is never, the year, but there was a huge fire that went through here, and there were a lot of maple trees.
Mm-hmm.
Manitoba maple. You don't see them in the park anymore because they all burnt, and that was.
Oh.
And so, except on Hog Island, and which is in the middle of the lake there, but it's called Hog Island because at that time, when the fire went through, there was a farmer here who had a lot of hogs and pigs, and he moved them all over to Hog Island.
Mm-hmm.
For the fire, and so thought they'd be safe. Well, they tried to swim back to the lake, to the shore, right? And so there's still, little pig skeletons and things at the bottom of the lake. Yeah. Okay. So that's why it's called Hog Island. There's just so much interesting history here.
Yeah. So the vegetation and the forests are so dense. I've never seen around in Regina. At least 100 kilometers away, I have never seen such beautiful forests.
Yeah, but you need to go up north in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. You go to Waskesiu, or you go to Meadow Lake, or you go up in those
Yeah.
Much of Saskatchewan is forested.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Margaret. It was great to see you, and thanks for your information.
My storytelling.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
This is the last cabin. The permanent artist of this cabin is Ken, who is a very skillful sculptor. Let's see his handicrafts and talk about his artworks.
Yeah. These are all bronze.
Oh, great. And you made them all?
Yeah. Build all my original sculptures out of clay and wax and cast to bronze.
This one is so beautiful.
It's called the Bear Soul.
Yeah.
These are all clays that I'm working on right now. So
I cannot touch it.
Yeah, soft clays, yeah. So I'm just sculpting them. They're pieces in progress.
This one is so good.
Yeah, I do a bronze for Calgary Stampede for their trophies. So yeah.
Great.
Yeah. This is the one. This one's the grandfather's hand sharing his knowledge with a grandchild. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. How long does it take to make something not so big?
They take a while, but this one I'm doing is for the musical ride, the RCMP musical ride. So doing the musical ride horse for the musical ride. So, so doing the horse, and then I'm sculpting the RCMP officer. So just starting to work on him. So, and then he'll be seated on his horse when I finish him off. So
Great.
Yeah. It's a beautiful park here. So
Yeah, it is. It
it's
is. Really.
known as the Park of the Arts in Saskatchewan. So they have, it's incredible what goes on here in terms of visual art and music and stuff like that in the park. It's an amazing park that way. And you'll get, 3,000 to 4,000 people a year come from all over the world here. Eh? So it's quite interesting, so
Yeah.
there's lots to see and lots of amazing artists come through here. So it's really a cool place to visit. So for sure. Yeah. So yeah. No, it's very interesting what comes through, the people that you meet here. And I think there's been 9 different countries come through here already this year. So it's really, really cool. So it has been interesting.
Are all of them artists?
The countries that come through are visitors from other countries. On the 12th of August is their Cabin Fever Art Festival in the lake, at the lake here. It's Lake Saturday. And but there will be, not only will the artisan cabins be full of artists, but there will be about 20 other artists have work on display here. And then there will be buskers playing music and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, there will be a band here that is performing down by the beach here at the park. So yeah, it'll be a great day to visit the park. So it'll be a good day for you to come back here because you'll see some amazing stuff. So yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And your artwork is so beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, it goes all over the world. It goes to some pretty editions of 10 or 15, so some of them, like there'll only ever be 15 elk in the world. I'm only going to make 15 of them. So,
great.
So once they sell, then they're sold out. That's it, so we'll cast them this winter. And
Yeah.
So the pieces are available. The bronzes that are shown here are available to buy. Yeah, for sure.
Margaret told me you have information about photography, bronze events, something like that.
Oh yeah. You want to know how to make a bronze? I can show you. So, So once I do my original bronze or sculptures, then I'll do a rubber mold over top. And then inside the rubber mold, we'll put wax and take a wax replica out of the mold.
Yeah.
Once I get my wax replica, this is called gating or spruing, which is basically putting wax straws, called sprue straws, attached to the wax replica and a wax funnel. And so then this allows it to off gas, as well as, if you think of these straws as pipelines, so the molten metal can flow to all corners. So once you get your wax work done, it gets dipped in ceramic slurries and you blow fine sand on it until you build up a ceramic shell over top of all the wax. Once you get a ceramic shell done, then you heat it and it cures the shell, but then it melts all that wax out of the inside. So then you turn it over so that your little funnel is up and pour the molten bronze in. And it's 2100 degrees Fahrenheit. Once it cools, you break the shell off it and you're left with a metal copy of the original sculpture. So then the very last thing you'll do is called the patina, which is the colors to the bronze. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's quite a process. Yeah, to get them done. Yeah. Did you been down in the visitor center down below here in the chalet?
Oh yeah.
So you see
I've
the
been
big
there.
eagle bronze in there?
Yeah.
That's one of my bronzes.
You made it.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it's one of mine. And I just display it down there in the summer. So the polar bear, we've just cast the polar bear, and once we do him, we're going to pour an icy blue resin base for him to sit on, so he'll be coming up out of the water. So that's what it'll look like. So
That is so beautiful.
Yeah.
And this horse as well.
Yeah, it's called cadence. Cadence is a musical term for fluid movement, right? So this one's called a plain memory. with the buffalo skull underneath.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's called a plain memory, that one. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank you so much for your information.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.